Hi Sunshine Sparkle Faces, it's me, Mother Sparkles. The truth is, I'm way too lazy to clean and this room is a freaking mess, so I'm not going to, I give no F's today. I'm just like, everything's gonna be a mess and I'm just gonna hold my camera and film today's video. So what is good? Hello everyone. I did not realize how sore my arm was going to be. Like, actually, yeah, not happening. My arm got really sore, so we're sitting down. I surrender to the tripod. We're just doing laundry and like the bed sheets are not on. I'm just like, you know, I don't care. I'm tired, I'm exhausted. So a few days ago, I woke up to a few messages from a supporter from the UK. She is a post-op transgender woman, and she's been post-op for 6 months now, and she's messaging me on how like she's worried about orgasms, like she hasn't experienced it yet and she's just kind of scared if she ever will. So I was like, hold on now, 6 months is still very, very early. After a major surgery like that, like you have to wait till all your hardwiring, all your wires in your body and everything just to slowly get back to where it was. So have no fear. It's definitely gonna take some time. I think if I recall, like a year after like I experienced my first orgasm or whatever, but I pulled out my trusty red folder that I got from the hospital. This is what they gave me, okay? It's just like, why red? It's almost like a foreshadow of what's gonna happen to me, like a bloody accident, like what is this? But anyways, moving on. So it tells you everything. And so I found a little booklet that says healing information, okay? So everything from bruising, swelling, sutures to sensation. So under sensation, it says, during the early phases of healing, it is not unusual to have some areas of numbness of the labial and MOMS. What is MOMS? M-O-M-S. What does this stand for? Sensory nerves take sometimes 12 to 18 months to heal. All right, so it takes about a year and a half to maybe sometimes 2 years to heal. I mean, it really differs depending on who you are, your body. Everyone is different. Everybody heals differently. Yeah. Have no fear, sister, in the UK. Everything is going to be all right. Major surgeries are freaking crazy, and you know, it really takes the right person, the right time, the right feeling to have an orgasm. What is it like having an orgasm post-op? It honestly, to me, feels the same as before if I were to climax. Same feeling, but nothing does come out. I do think it's funny how some post-op transgender women lie about, I don't know, I don't want to accuse that they're lying, but like, they're like, oh yeah, the first time I like came through, you know, I was squirting things out in fluid and you know, what the climaxation is going on. Is that even possible? Like, I don't know, like every time I get intimate with my partner, like it's already slippery down there, if you know what I mean. It's already saucy, so I don't know if anything does come out for me, and nothing does usually come out for me. You know, it's just the feeling, the sensation, like that explosion feeling, but that is all. So when these transgender women are like, yeah, I squirted and things came out and I'm all wet, I'm like, huh? What you trying to lie about, girl? Okay, we all know you got a pussy, you don't gotta fake it, okay? Same thing squirting on your fucking vagina, please. You think I'm stupid? You think I'm crazy? Okay? Save that for another bitch, okay? I mean, having an orgasm post-op is going to be much more difficult because, you know, things are rearranged and things are not how they used to be. So you have to learn everything from square one. Like, you gotta know what feels good, which areas, and it really depends on your partner, the right timing, the right feeling. You know, for different people, pleasure comes in many different ways. For me, it's like violent rubbing and like a little too much information, but you know, it just really depends. And you gotta find out what makes you come through. All right, it could be vaginal penetration for Lucy, it could be a vibrating dildo for Jennifer, and it could be rubbing for frickin' Martha. Like, you just don't know what. You gotta figure that out. You gotta spend time with yourself, spend time with your newly made vagina, and just,
hello, how are you doing? Like, how you feeling down there? Did that feel good for you? Did that feel good for you?
I don't know, you just gotta know. Wine, anybody? Anybody want wine? Y'all want wine? I'm just joking. It's truly a combination of all different things, but most importantly, I think it's all in your mind, it's in your brain. It's a very powerful it's a very powerful thing, and since I got such a big head, you know, I got a powerful brain and powerful head. An update on my orgasms, like before I was like, you know, like I'm not really into, you know, the vaginal penetration, intercourse, like let's just shut these doors and wait for the perfect person to come along and reopen the gates of heaven and come through. All right, before that, I've always been known as a backdoor princess, a backdoor queen. So, but since I have a new partner now, and well, not a new partner, but you know, the partner that I've been with, has told me to, you know, open the gates of heaven and let him in. So I've been dilating, I've been using my Gorgina, and I came twice in one sitting, and I didn't know that was possible. I honestly did not know I could do that. I was like, well, lucky if I can just like climax once. It's a lot of mental preparation, a lot of mental, it's all in your brain, okay? And so, you know, I came once before, you're here and there, and now I'm coming like bam, bam, in like one sitting, like in a short period of time. So I'm like, wow, this actually does work. And honestly, it takes the right person. So thank you, babe, for letting me reach my climaxation. But that is all I want to share with you guys today. Orgasms, it's a wonderful thing, and it would suck if you wouldn't be able to orgasm ever again. I mean, it is definitely a risk. You just never know what's going to happen. You gotta pray to the higher beings, the lords, the fairy gods, and just hope that things will go smoothly and you get to climax after your surgery. Yes, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon. Wait a minute, I forgot something. I'm gonna do a shameless plug on my Deja Vu lashes. Oh my gosh, I just had a sale, but we're having another promotion for March. We're having a free shipping anywhere in the world. All right, free shipping on the Deja Vu lashes, honey. Deja Vu lashes, let's focus, okay? On orders over $45. So basically, you can buy the sister bundle, which is the 3 lashes, for $46, free shipping, boom. And this will come into your door, fast shipping. All right, very good deal. Go to DejaVuLashes.com and use the coupon code YouTube, okay? YouTube or ship. That will help you save on shipping. Okay, you're welcome. Bye. Mwah.
This show is now beginning. Don't forget to share us and support us via the links and buttons. The thoughts, ideas, and suggestions of any guest appearances is in no way directly endorsed by the Shanae Show, Innovative Entertainment Group, and or the Democratic Republic of Daehangang. Listeners' discretion is advised. The thoughts, ideas, and suggestions of any guest appearances is in no way directly endorsed by the Shanae Show, Innovative Entertainment Group, and or the Democratic Republic of Daehangang. Listeners' discretion is advised.
And serve. true number weighing code by On Shit's Eggs. This is right around this time he actually started using his like made up pseudonym. This was like long after he kept trying to use his legal name because apparently it became
Beats by Dallas, make it hurt.
too inconvenient to keep getting caught using the same name that people identified him as for like the better part of almost 2 years at this point. Dedicated to the people of the resistance who fight day and night for our freedom, civil liberties, and equal rights. What equal rights have you legitimately been denied? And I mean actually have been denied. By the government or by the public instead of just made up rights. trying to give yourself so you feel like you can do whatever you want to whoever you want. Also dedicated to liberals who have to put up with the conservative nonsense on a daily basis. Basis spelled as in SES, like the bottom of a table leg, or like a military installment, and the LGBT.
We will now take an quick intermission. Enjoy our break content presented by Penavegu Entertainment Group International and Ahamingak today.
Hi Sunshine Sparkle Faces, it's me, Mother Sparkles. The truth is, I'm way too lazy to clean and this room is a freaking mess, so I'm not going to. I give no F's today. I'm just like, everything's gonna be a mess and I'm just gonna hold my camera and film today's video. So what is good? Hello everyone. I did not realize how sore my arm was going to be. Like, actually, yeah, not happening. My arm got really sore. So we're sitting down. I surrendered to the tripod. We're just doing laundry and like the bed sheets are not on. I'm just like, you know, I don't care. I'm tired, I'm exhausted. So a few days ago, I woke up to a few messages from a supporter from the UK. She is a post-op transgender woman, and she's been post-op for 6 months now, and she's messaging me on how like she's worried about orgasms, like she hasn't experienced it yet, and she's just kind of scared if she ever will. So I was like, hold on now, 6 months is still very, very early. After a major surgery like that, like you have to wait till all your hardwiring, all your wires in your body and everything just to slowly get back to where it was. So have no fear. It's definitely gonna take some time. I think if I recall, like a year after like I experienced my first orgasm or whatever, but I pulled out my trusty red folder that I got from the hospital. This is what they gave me, okay? It's just like, why red? It's almost like a foreshadow of what's gonna happen to me, like a bloody accident, like what is this? But anyways, moving on. So it tells you everything. And so I found a little booklet that says healing information, okay? So everything from bruising, swelling, sutures to sensation. So under sensation, it says, during the early phases of healing, it is not unusual to have some areas of numbness of the labial and MOMS. What is MOMS? M-O-M-S. What does this stand for? Sensory nerves take sometimes 12 to 18 months to heal. All right, so it takes about a year and a half to maybe sometimes 2 years to heal. I mean, it really differs depending on who you are, your body. Everyone is different. Everybody heals differently. Yeah, have no fear, sister. In the UK, everything is going to be all right. Major surgeries are freaking crazy, and you know, it really takes the right person, the right time, the right feeling to have an orgasm. What is it like having an orgasm post-op? It honestly, to me, feels the same as before if I were to climax. Same feeling, but nothing does come out. I do think it's funny how some post-op transgender women lie about, I don't know, I don't want to accuse that they're lying, but like, they're like, oh yeah, the first time I like came through, you know, I was squirting things out in fluid, and you know, what the climaxation is going on. Is that even possible? Like, I don't know, like every time I get intimate with my partner, like it's already slippery down there, if you know what I mean. It's already saucy. So I don't know if anything does come out for me, and nothing does usually come out for me. You know, it's just a feeling, the sensation, like that explosion feeling. But that is all. So when these transgender women are like, yeah, I squirted and things came out and I'm all wet, I'm like, huh? What you trying to lie about, girl? Okay, we all know you got a pussy. You don't gotta fake it, okay? Same thing squirting on your fucking vagina, please. You think I'm stupid? You think I'm crazy? Okay? Save that for another bitch, okay? I mean, having an orgasm post-op is going to be much more difficult because, you know, things are rearranged and things are not how they used to be. So you have to learn everything from square one. Like, you gotta know what feels good, which areas, and it really depends on your partner, the right timing, the right feeling. You know, for different people, pleasure comes in many different ways. For me, it's like violent rubbing and like a little too much information, but you know, it just really depends. You gotta find out what makes you come through. All right, it could be vaginal penetration for Lucy, it could be a vibrating dildo for Jennifer, and it could be rubbing for freaking Martha. Like, you just don't know what. You got to figure that out. You got to spend time with yourself, spend time with your newly made vagina, and just,
hello, how you doing? Like, how you feeling down there? Did that feel good for you? Did that feel good for you?
I don't know. You just got to know. Wine, anybody? Anybody want wine? Y'all want wine? I'm just joking. It's truly a combination of all different things, but most importantly, I think it's all in your mind, it's in your brain. It's a very powerful thing. And since I got such a big head, you know, I got a powerful brain and powerful head. An update on my orgasms. Like, before I was like, you know, like, I'm not really into, you know, the vaginal penetration, intercourse. Like, let's just shut these doors and wait for the perfect person to come along and reopen the gates of heaven and come through. All right, before that, I've always been known as a backdoor princess, a backdoor queen. So, but since I have a new partner now, and, well, not a new partner, but, you know, the partner that I've been with, has told me to, you know, open the gates of heaven and let him in. So I've been dilating, I've been using my Gorgina, and I came twice in one sitting, and I didn't know that was possible. I honestly did not know I could do that. I was like, well, lucky if I can just like climax once. It's a lot of mental preparation, a lot of mental, it's all in your brain, okay? And so, you know, I came once before, you're here and there, and now I'm coming like bam, bam, in like one sitting, like in a short period of time. So I'm like, wow, this actually does work. And honestly, it takes the right person. So thank you, babe, for letting me reach my climaxation. But that is all I want to share with you guys today. Orgasms, it's a wonderful thing, and it would suck if you wouldn't be able to orgasm ever again. I mean, it is definitely a risk. You just never know what's going to happen. You gotta pray to the higher beings, the lords, the fairy gods, and just hope that things will go smoothly and you get to climax after your surgery. Yes, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon. Wait a minute, I forgot something. I'm gonna do a shameless plug on my Deja Vu lashes. Oh my gosh, I just had a sale. But we're having another promotion for March. We're having a free shipping anywhere in the world, all right? Free shipping on the Deja Vu lashes, honey. Deja Vu lashes, let's focus, okay? On orders over $45. So basically, you can buy the sister bundle, which is the 3 lashes, for $46, free shipping, boom. And this will come into your door, fast shipping. All right, very good deal. Go to DejaVuLashes.com and use the coupon code YouTube, okay? YouTube or ship. That will help you save on shipping. Okay, you're welcome. Bye. Mwah.
This intermission has now ended. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Plus community. Proceeds to not name a single person that's gay, lesbian, bisexual, or trans that would actually tolerate pedophiles being in their community, but okay. Because if you actually paid attention, most people of the LGBT would openly tell people that are pedophiles to go fuck themselves because they don't want these people anywhere in their communities because it would basically make them all look bad by association. Chapter 1, Surprise Inspection! What's he really inspecting? Is it really an inspection if you just go up to people and start assuming things about them that's not true? Gage is a very awkward individual. Can be. Depends on the situation. A strange individual with a very aggressive attitude towards people of difference. Meaning that he hates people who is not white, American, conservative, and or heterosexual. Proceeds to ignore my gay friends, some trans friends that I have, and a bunch of friends that I have that are of different ethnicities. Or from different nations entirely, but okay. Let's just ignore all that. It is apparent that we understand that Gage, like many conservatives, have been brainwashed with a false ideology. It's not really a false ideology if you can actually look at science and determine that there is definitely indicators that show someone is physically and psychologically maturing. I also feel like I need to point out, like, part number 1, like, the tagline is "The truth is out there" with exclamation points, because you couldn't bother but to steal from the X-Files because you're so stupid you don't know that they could actually sue you for even doing that. Again, it's not a false ideology if science actually backs it up with proof. Being the person in denial, as he is, Gage continues to slander the general liberal population for being faggots and scum of the earth. I didn't realize that calling you that and referring to pedophiles as scum of the earth was the same thing as automatically attaching anyone that identifies as liberal with that label. That's genuinely not what I believe. He has no respect for the written word, and is easily annoyed by reality and facts that contradicts his lies, aka evidence that proves him wrong. You've yet to supply evidence of any claim that you've ever made, because everything you've ever said has been you just twisting people's words to vilify them, and if it's not that, you openly distort what you said so that they look bad. Quote, "You're just a crazy SJW, trans-training asshole who stalks people for attention. People watch you to laugh at you, nothing more. Holy shit, you actually quoted me verbatim for once. Give this motherfucker a gold star. All it did was take you almost 2 years to do that at this point. Dealing with Gage is a nightmare. He has no respect for anyone but his cult. Proceeds to not name a single person that I've disrespected aside from yourself and maybe a handful of other pedophiles or lunatics. In the many years that I've known him," you mean that I have known him. "His persona is that of a demon. And another thing, you don't really know me. The only thing you know about me is the fact that I don't tolerate you being a shitty person to people. That's all you fucking know. All you've ever come to know about someone is the stuff you choose to believe about them because it makes it easy for you to vilify them if you believe that they are less than human. That's all you've done. You don't know anyone aside from their online existence, and that's the thing. You treat their online existence like that's the whole of their person, and that's genuinely not what it is. And before you start saying, 'No, you,' I can determine a lot about your person by the way you act. You act the same way you do online that you do here. You act shitty to everyone, you treat everyone like the villain of the story, and when you don't get what you want, you try to vilify them, victimize yourself, and then you throw a tantrum." Proceed to read. "More like a Seed of Chucky parody." No, because the Seed of Chucky was a doll that was brought to life using voodoo magic. The Seed of Chucky was the product of 2 of those possessed dolls having intercourse and breeding like a regular pair of human beings somehow would. That's not the same thing as a living human being that's never been inside of a doll telling you to get fucked because you make an asshole of yourself. A guy just running around attacking innocent people all for a personal issue that he has not quite come to terms with. No, it's just the fact that you have a habit of going up to people, telling them that their trauma is a bunch of made-up bullshit, and then instead of simply saying, "You know what, maybe I shouldn't be antagonizing this person because they've demonstrated a lot of hostility towards me," you instead seem to treat that like a green light to do it more. A personal issue that he brought on himself and chose not to get rid of. A personal issue that is turning everyone against him, whether he admits it or realizes it or not. I didn't realize that having PTSD or being a victim of CSA automatically made all the people who would normally be sympathetic and understand your cause somehow hate you. That seems to be more of a you thing, because you use your mental illness as a way to say that everyone else in the room is a fucking asshole, and then you do whatever you can to tap dance around actually directly insulting them, because you believe that if you do it in a veiled way, it somehow makes you superior in some way, when there's really no superiority to be called for here. There genuinely isn't. Even though he has been put in his place, especially after an investigation against him, he, in his died-down version, still manages to bully the LGBT plus community and their counterparts. / having people do his dirty work by spamming their email with words like "you first," even though that is clearly not a coherent sentence, nor does it have any real value or context. No, people just did it to troll you aggressively because of the fact that you were an asshole to them, and when they kept basically pointing out that you were doing the exact same shit to other people. Because whenever people actually disagree with you, your whole argument is, "You're wrong, and I'm just automatically right, regardless of whatever the fuck you say." And people say "you first" more or less to emphasize the point that people ask you for evidence, you claim you supplied it, they ask you for evidence that's not made up by you, and you never can. Hence the term "you first" became like a troll statement people could make towards you. because they knew that you could not supply evidence. In fact, repeating two words over and over again just proves me right that these conservatives can't hold a civilized conversation without spazzing out. You mean like how when Damien pressed you about your identity, you started freaking out and blaring music and talking over everyone and trying to mute them because you couldn't handle the fact that Damien was hitting you right on the head multiple times like a game of fucking whack-a-mole? Their brains can't comprehend reality, so they punish those who does not live within their fantasy, which is why Gage hates Asians so much, and countries not like America. No, I just don't like random assholes coming up to me telling me that my life experiences are insignificant to them, and then at the same time they try to tell me that my experiences should not matter to me either, just so they can sit there and try to ram their narrative down my throat. And because I refuse to just tell people that I'm at fault for what other people did to me that was completely out of my control, all things considered, you went out of your way to essentially shit all over that and say fuck you for what you went through, fuck you for the CSA you survived, and fuck your friends for some of them being dead as a result of suicide caused by the after effects of CSA, because all these people don't matter, my narrative died. That's why people don't like you, because you approached everything like that. Blaming SJW, social justice warriors, for your life's problems is just like Alex Jones blaming gay people and drag people for the polluted water, earthquakes, and tsunamis. No, I disagree with people who go out of their way to try to censor people's speech and tell them that they're not allowed to say things that they want to say just because it might bother maybe 2 or 3 people out of an entire population. It's not the same thing as genuinely blaming gay people or trans people or drag people for nonsense. I don't believe that a gay person or a drag person is responsible for earthquakes or tsunamis and shit, because that's more like that's a planetary factor, that's an environmental thing that no human being can really influence. Because tectonic plates cause that shit, we can't control tectonic plates. It's absolutely pointless, like your fucking existence. SJWs are indeed good people who are fighting a good cause. Some of them have their hearts in the right place, but their methods are kind of fucked up, because instead of simply disagreeing with it and proving it to be false, they instead spurg out and burn shit down or try to influence riots. Or they just go out of their way to try to remove people from their jobs over words they said on Twitter a decade ago. However, like Gage, the conservatives are always jealous of those who get more attention and publicity than they do. Aren't you the dumb motherfucker that basically spurged out because someone else was getting some level of publicity? I mean, let's be honest, people think you're crazy. That's the only reason that people even acknowledge you, is because you screech and reel like a dumbass about nothing. That's the only reason people acknowledge you, is because you throw a tantrum and lose your mind, and because you can't properly justify a single thing you do, you take it upon yourself to scream like a dick and then lose your mind whenever people simply say, well, actually, I don't believe that's quite true. Like, the moment you hear that, I don't believe that's true, you lose your mind and throw off the handle. Just like young Gage continues to get jealous over Amos and myself. I didn't realize that Amos had anything to do with this whole thing, because Amos was pretty much dropped out of the equation after the first book. Why would I be jealous of 2 people who've done nothing with their lives? One of them is currently serving time in prison for being a nonce, and the other one's just a loser who spends all day every day tweeting at nobody on Twitter. They know that they cannot defeat the truth, so they instead try to get rid of the competition, just as the Pharisees did with Jesus when he was whipped, beaten, and nailed to a tree. He was nailed to a cross, not a tree. And another thing, the reason that Jesus was attacked in the Bible, if you are to use the actual context of what happened, is because Pontius Pilate and the Roman Church at the time found that he was telling people to think for themselves and not let the government or the governing body at that time control everything they did with their lives. That's the difference between that and that. Like, you're not some sort of Jesus-like figure. You're not standing up for anyone. You're basically just bitching because people tell you to get a job. No matter how much you try to get rid of Gage, he still manages to find and stalk you. It's not really stalking if you're so fucking stupid you put all your links out there for everyone to find. He is one of the most disturbed conservatives I have ever met. You haven't really met conservatives. You've met people that you identify as conservatives because they're basically disagreeing with every one of your dumbass butthurt ideas. He stalks YouTube trying to find people who he can start trouble with. Just because I occasionally bump into people who do stupid things that I don't agree with and I criticize them in videos does not mean that I'm sitting there just flying around looking for stuff like a vulture looking to pick up a dead animal. He cares more about subscribers than human emotions, and he bullies people to no end until it leads them to suicide. Oh, I would love it if my mean words towards you just led you to kill yourself. I think it would be fucking hilarious if I called you a faggot one fucking time you just threw yourself off a building. Another thing, I'm not pushing people to suicide. You just think that if you say that, it's going to be like some reason for YouTube to go after me for no reason. Another thing, if people genuinely learned from their mistakes and just did less and less shitty things and they'd eventually turn their behavior around, I wouldn't feel the need to say something about someone. If I saw a video, for example, from 5 years ago where someone was being a complete piece of shit, and I saw a video presently where they said, all things considered, I disagree with my behavior from that point in time because that's not what I wanted to do with my life and that's not what I want my life to be anymore, I would be able to not even fuck with that person because at that point in time, that person has looked at their life, thought about what they really wanted to do with it, and said, I want to be better. And I wouldn't feel the necessity to say anything at that point because they'd be proving that they care enough about themselves and about their future to do something with themselves to make it better. You never have. His madness is exactly why he is under investigation by the Demogorgon national government. Okay, so I'm under investigation by you. By one person who pretends to be a governmental authority. And he/his cult is on the government hate group's watch list. Sure it is. I'm so sure it is. Therefore, it is fair to determine that Gage clearly has a mental disorder because no person in their right mind would ever act like he does. Translation, no other person would criticize me that's completely sane because I'm butthurt and I screech and cry and shit all over myself if people don't agree with me. Gage is a fool to think that anyone would be willing to join a hostile cult that hates Asians, immigrants, and people of color in the LGBT plus community. Proceeds to ignore the fact that some of my friends are people who are classified as people of color, some of which are friends and children of immigrants, and a couple of whom are Asians. But remember, keep twisting whatever goes on in the world so that I look like a bigot of whatever day of the week that is, because that's really all you can fucking do to try to justify anything all you do. If anything, most people are against Gage and his madness, which is why you're not able to provide a single person aside from maybe a handful of nonces who also don't like me. Nobody with an ounce, you misspelled ounce, of intelligence would think that it is in any way okay spell is in okay because you can't spell, to bully people for their differences, let alone bullying anyone, period. Well, you bully other people all the time because you actively go out of their way to go after people in their personal lives and try to take pot shots of things they don't even do anymore as a way to try to vilify them in the public. When you found out about my past problem with painkillers, for example, from when I was 15, you went out of your way basically just to pelt me with rocks over it until you felt like I was going to be fucking destroyed. I wasn't really bothered that much because I know I haven't done that in almost 2 decades now. But the fact is, you had no problem whatsoever trying to throw that in my face, something from like fucking 13 years ago. So I don't get why the hell it is that you have the right to brag about anything when you've accomplished nothing with your life, but you're willing to take pot shots at people's problems. So at some point, Gage had to have completely lost his mind. No, my idea of someone completely losing their mind would be someone if they... Like, here's the thing. If I was really as dangerous and crazy as you say I am, then why am I living in my own home with family, having a regular job, paying my bills, having a long-term relationship? How could I have all these things if I'm really that so-called crazy and dangerous? It's almost like everything you're saying is bullshit, and the only person that believes it is you. Something must have happened to him to hurt him, to lead him to harm others the way that he does. No, it's just the fact is, you have a problem with being up people's ass, trying to bitch and whine about every goddamn thing that you do, and then you go out of your way to try to paint people as like monsters of whatever day that a week it is because you can't justify your opinions towards them. That's all it is. You think that people disagreeing with you and being upset with your shitty behavior is somehow some sort of admittance of a mental illness. It's not. You're just an asshole and people don't like you and they don't fucking have to. That's the thing. You have this, well, you have to like everyone, and you're like no one. No, I don't. I don't have to like everyone. If someone walked up and smashed my window, I don't have to like the person that just vandalized my home. If someone stole my car and crashed in, totaled the fucking thing, I don't have to like someone that just stole my property, a pretty expensive piece, I might add, and destroyed it because they could. because that person has basically destroyed my property. It doesn't matter whether insurance covers it or not. It's the fact that someone has done that to me, potentially causing me financial and personal problems. And because of that, I don't have to like those people. Just like how I don't have to fucking like you. He is highly mentally unstable. He murdered 2 people in cold blood, which he admitted to on YouTube. He hates Asians, which is why he calls them fish, and why he has misgendered myself and has disrespected AMOC and his family. I've never talked about AMOC's family because I am not responsible for what people say to his family. Another thing. Wasn't 2 person. It was 1 person. It was self-defense as ruled by the court. If you don't like it, go fuck yourself. If you don't like it, go to the fucking court and scream and cry and throw a goddamn tantrum. Another thing, I probably should have phrased that better. The dude's not dead, but he's fucking... He he was beaten to shit. So needless to say, I hope he's still eating through that feeding tube. Another thing, it's not misgendering you if I genuinely don't see you as trans, because you use that as an excuse to be shitty to people. He hates people of color, which is why he himself and his followers call me an ape. Damien called you an ape because you act like a dumb fucking animal. Technically, human beings by nature are apes anyway, so if anything, he just called you human. He hates transgender people, hates the LGBTP plus community, hates liberals on the left, and hates people who think differently and or question him, and he never tells the truth. When have you actually said something true, other than like 1 page ago where you quoted me verbatim? The answer is not. Gage is a chronic liar and a fraud. Every one of his YouTube videos are slanderous and false on every level. Proceeds to not have like a single example of one thing that I've said that's been definitively false. Gage is well known to ignore and deny the truth. Proceeds to not show a single example, which is why he never apologizes for his multiple misdeeds against humanity. Calling you a dumbass on the internet is not the same thing as committing a holocaust, you fucking asswipe. His love for attention creates a perfect environment for his craving for lying and persecution of the innocent. It's not persecution of the innocent. If you do something shitty and I hear about it, I have the right to say something about it regardless of how anally chapped you get, you fucking piece of shit. His anger against liberals on the left has led him to abuse a girl named Kate, last name redacted and misspelled. First off, Kate's not a girl, she's a woman. A girl implies that she's a small child or a teenager. She's older than I am by a year. Kate is a victim of Gage and his conservative cult. Yes, because I know that if this is someone I'm in a relationship with, they are automatically the same thing as a fucking nonce who gets called a fucking nonce. Bleed into a fucking gutter. More than one occasion has proven this. When Kate did a YouTube video by herself, for whatever reason, you can tell she has been coached to say the daily hate speech rhetoric against humanity. No, you dumb fucking retard. She wasn't sure what she wanted to say, so we sat down and talked about what she felt like she needed to say. And she asked me to help write what she wanted to say because she had a hard time trying to figure out what she felt like, she wanted to say. So I helped her write out what she wanted to say so she could try to calmly get it out there. She has a bit of stage fright and social anxiety. You'd understand that if you gave a fuck about anything other than your goddamn self. On this occasion, she was discussing the cult agenda of hating a YouTuber by the name of Stetson Harwick, a transgender male to female who stood up against Gage and his cult for harassing MOC and censoring him by sending fake reports against MOC's channel to YouTube. Translation, you're going to talk about yourself in the third person and suck your own dick because it's the only way you can prove yourself to be any bit of a hero is if you dramatically exaggerate the situation. Another thing, you were the asshole that was screaming at people in that debate that Kate was talking about, so I don't know why the fuck it is you're trying to lie like no one remembers shit. Just because you're crazy and you don't remember things the way it happened doesn't mean you're right. As she was talking, you could tell she has been beaten. Her eyes were two different colors. She was repeating exactly what Gage has prepared for her, and every time she made a mistake, she would flinch like someone in the background was threatening violence against her. Dude, you can hear me in the background playing a PlayStation. In that video, I'm playing Mortal Kombat X on the PS4. It might be because I'm moving around while I'm playing, because it's one of those habits you get when you're playing a fighting game, that occasionally your body will move left or right, because you get super into it. That's not the same thing as someone sitting there with a baseball bat saying, "You better say this right, lady, you know what happens." Yes, because someone was threatening her when there's only two people in the room present, and I'm in the background playing on the PlayStation 4. Said no one ever. What, was the webcam threatening her? Hope someone throws your piece of shit ass down the stairs. Not one time did Kate ever state her honest opinion about Gage because of her fear of him. Why don't you let her speak for herself? Like, why are you trying to determine what other people should or should not say about you or anyone fucking else? Why are you the one trying to tell people what they should or should not fucking think about someone they're in a relationship with, who they actually have shared their life with for the past almost 8 years? What gives you the right to decide someone else's fucking opinions of their partner when you don't even fucking know them? I'll wait for it to say, you lying faggot. Same goes for his Gaunt Man married. Damien's guy from YouTube never disagrees with Gage on anything. I'm sure he has. There are certain things Damien's disagree with me on, I guarantee that. He's not, for example, a big fan of guns. Although he also understands that people should be allowed to own them within reason, even if he does not particularly agree with a lot of what I say involving guns. This is an example of why he should stay in school. Damien is a madman, racist conservative, stands for destroying the LGBTP+ community, inflicting violence against Asians and spewing racial slurs against them. Calling you ugly is not the same thing as openly saying he wishes to whack every Asian person in existence because of X, Y, and Z. A reliable source provided the Swan Media Group with documentation that Kate was a victim of domestic abuse by Gage, and that Gage has a history of anger management issues and mental health issues. No. That so-called reliable source was a fat fucking animal abuser who went out of his way to openly bullshit about people. When Kate confronted this person himself on Discord, telling them to shut the fuck up because they were a lying piece of shit, you decided to take it upon yourself to deny what this person had openly caught them saying instead in rebuttal, basically telling that it was a bunch of load of horse shit and to shut the fuck up. And then you basically painted that like, well, this person's being threatened to be violent against you now. They're being told not to say these things. No, it's just the fact is you're a lying asshole and people don't like that. And they don't like that someone's lying about their personal life when that's none of their fucking business. I mean, really. You're the one constantly going out of his way to be a shitty piece of shit to everyone, and then you get mad when people just refuse to be told how to feel about a situation that you keep trying to inject yourself into. Which would explain all the unnecessary hate speech YouTube videos in a way. Gage is clearly his own problem. A person with a massive ego who hates indifference and is intolerant against anyone who isn't straight white male like himself proceeds to ignore the fact that I have 3 or 4 gay friends, that I have at least maybe a handful of friends who are Asian or black or Hispanic, but let's keep ignoring that bit because it's convenient for your narrative. Because you're a lying piece of shit. If anything, this is proven by the company that he keeps. Translation: just because my country is 13% African American, it means I now need to make friends with 50 people that are black just so I can meet some sort of diversity quota in my friend group. Fuck yourself up the ass with a ratchet. If anything, this is proven to... In fact, Gage does not have one friend who isn't a stereotypical white male. Anthony Hunter. Ryuki. Slashing Hades. List goes on and on and on. Like Dan. Dan's from India. But you're gonna claim that Dan is white, despite the fact that he's Indian. Because you're a lying piece of dog shit. Nor does he have any LGBTP+ friends. Cass, Steve, and Zach are all gay. Jenny's trans, even though you don't like to admit that, because if you admit that Jenny's trans and that Steve, Cass, and Zach are gay, it would just blow your whole bullshit out of the water. Gage has no friends, only a cult following. Right. His view of friends are that of Israel on Palestine as a state, non-existent. Gage always tells lies about everyone else, but never once speaks the truth about himself. I've spoken the truth about myself quite often. I've openly admitted to a lot of my problems and addressed them like they needed to be addressed. What the fuck have you done? Lie about other people to try to vilify them because you can't take any bit of accountability for your personal fuck-ups and failings. It makes people uncomfortable with no respect for anyone, and clearly does not know how to be civil with people in a debate. People are not civil with someone who goes out of their way to speak over them, mute them, scream over them, silence them, and try to take what they say out of context. That's the reason I don't have any civility with you. I cannot be cordial with you, because every time I would try to be, you would immediately do something fucking scummy and snaky to piss me off. A lack of self-control intertwines with his need for power that turns his attitude in something of a dictator. A person who needs to know that everyone is kissing his feet and following his every narrative. Aren't you the dumb fucking asshole who essentially said that if anyone disagrees with you, they're a conservative, and if they're a conservative, they're automatically wrong? Aren't you the same dumb motherfucker who in a previous writing to this straight up said that if someone likes my videos, they have to dislike them, or if someone is subscribed to me, they have to unsubscribe? That doesn't sound like someone who wants other people to listen to both sides of the story. It sounds like someone who wants everyone to only hear his side because he wants to control what people fucking say. That doesn't sound like someone who genuinely wants both sides of the story to be heard. It sounds like someone who wants to control the narrative, and if they can't control the narrative, they'll just lose their mind. His failure to understand complex information and a lack of accurate and complete education of the world's functions have led his ideology to become obsolete in our day and age. Well, you said age, so are you acknowledging that it's a period of time? Instead of accepting an educational lesson, Gage has instead decided to remain ignorant and attack those who are not completely brainwashed like him. Dude, you've never tried to educate anyone. Your whole argument is, I say so, so it's true. I say so, so it's true. And if you don't believe me, you're just automatically a piece of shit. Except you don't phrase it like that. Your whole argument is, if you don't believe me, you're inferior. And if you're inferior, you should not be alive. That's your argument. Except, again, you don't phrase it like that because you're a pussy. You don't say what you want to say. You twist what people say to make them look bad, hoping that someone will act on your behalf, but no one ever does. He reminds me of a Donald Trump copycat, despite the fact that no one has brought Trump up in this entire fucking thing, and you're the only person that keeps clinging to that bullshit ideology because it's the only thing you can do to try to politicize this shit. Quick to respond, but slow to apologize. Gage is proud of bullying innocent people, but yet has actually proven that he is innocent of the multiple accusations against him. He is proud of being anti-LGBTQ+, and yet cannot admit that people are anti-Gage because of his intolerant views against humanity. I'm not going to admit that people hate me for being like a homophobe or a transphobe because I'm not. I'm not going to be called a transphobe or a homophobe if I'm genuinely fucking not. There are times you've actually tried to trick me into saying shit that is homophobic, but I didn't fall for it because I saw the fucking mat on the ground. It was like a fucking pit trap, except instead of covering it up, you basically painted it with the words, "This is obviously a trap." He acts like he is a god. No, I don't. Quick to temper, but slow to understanding facts and reality. You've yet to prove anything you've stated to be true, except for babbling like a retard. He insults people's countries and places of residence. That isn't in the good old US of A. No, I've criticized you for being a dumb motherfucker who spazzes out and says that his made-up country has the right to try to charge people for crimes that are not even crimes. Gage hates the written word. I love books that are actually good books. I love books that actually are informative or tell a good story. These are not either one of those, because this whole thing's like a manifesto of assher wrapped up into a giant tortilla of nonsense. It's like a bullshit burrito. He insults writers and calls their works turds. No, I'm just referring to you, because as you can tell, no one else has ever gotten my admonishment in terms of being a writer. There are a lot of writers who I've praised for being genuinely interesting writers. You are not. He has no respect for the arts, and have no respect for drag queens or anyone who is an artist. I don't know, Van Gogh, Picasso, and Da Vinci were all incredible artists. But remember, we're just going to ignore that bit. He thinks that everything that he doesn't understand is fake. No, I think that if you can't provide evidence of it, it's probably not true. Yet when proven otherwise, he instead gets defensive and attacks people, usually with racist, derogatory words. Calling you ugly is not racist, you asshole. He does not understand, nor does he care about other people's emotions. Is that why you're the one constantly doing things to try to cause people harm in some way or another, and then you constantly backpedal over it, pretending not to realize that? He never takes anyone's advice because he believes that he is perfect, yet he has terrible fashion sense, and all because he doesn't want to look like a faggot. No, I just don't believe that someone that dresses like a homeless person should be telling anyone else how to dress, when me sitting here in my house on a typical Monday afternoon should not be me feeling like it's necessary to wear an $8,000 thread cotton suit. I should not have to wear an Armani suit to sit in my fucking desk chair and say something. If you don't like it, go bitch about something else. His lack of style and his laziness has led to subpar YouTube video, basically says, I don't care, in his shows. No, it's this fact is, like, I believe in talking to someone like I would talk to someone else if I was in my living room talking to a guest. When I talk to everyone casually, it's because I don't feel like I need to put on some sanctimonious bullshit to make it sound like it's more important and more higher brow than it necessarily is. I don't need to put on some bullshit fucking show where I act like I'm some sort of authority on things. I give my thoughts about things as the world unfolds around me. That's not the same thing as me pretending to believe it's all true or right. There are certain things I know to be true, there are certain things I know to be false, but that does not mean I'm automatically infallible. What is interesting is that Desmond is amazing, a drag queen and a YouTuber who Gage hates alongside the rest of the conservatives, has more views, subscribers, and likes than all of Gage videos combined. Yeah, but keep in mind a lot of these videos are usually liked by pedophiles who get off to the idea of a little boy stripping in front of them because this is totally not the work of a crappy parent. Desmond has more intelligence, bravery, and humanity than Gage ever had. He's a small child. He does not have bravery or intelligence, and everyone has humanity. Just because I don't see things in your funny Disneyland way doesn't mean I'm not human. It just means I refuse to see things your way. If Gage actually tried to give a crap about his viewers, then his channel would not be known as the cancer of YouTube. No, the cancer of YouTube would be like those fucking Minecraft pedophiles who hang out in the Minecraft community, tainting that community for the people that are trying to genuinely entertain kids. And you're basically sitting there screaming at the top of your fucking lungs about me calling you an asshole on the internet because you'd rather do that than address a real problem when it comes down to the infestation of child predators on the website. Because child predators don't exist, according to some schizophrenic. In all, Gage is an absolute mess. A combination of Donald Trump and the KKK. Whenever I ever hung anyone from a tree or said that anyone's race made them inferior to anyone. Never. A racist conservative with no respect for anyone and who demands an audience with people only to hurt them in the end. How am I hurting the audience? If the audience finds what I say funny, and they laugh a little bit, if I'm able to just give them 5 minutes of laughter of a day that's fucking hell for them, then that's a lot better than doing nothing at all. If I can make someone else laugh and make their day just a little bit better, then maybe, just maybe, they could feel better about their day. Maybe it will help them in some way. And what have you done? Berate people for disagreeing with you. Not even because you can prove them wrong, no less. It's just because you cannot help the fact that people don't agree with you and that they don't fucking have to. Kane deserves someone so much better than and much more stable than Gage. You're supposed to be then, not then. This was the second time you've made that mistake. If anything, Gage needs a long list full of mental help, but it first starts with him. Everything he knows is wrong in what he is doing with his life, but only when he realizes it for himself can he actually begin to heal and fix his life. Gage's brain is clearly not in service. Oh, will you go fuck yourself? Oh, it's not in service. Oh, look, you finally found a way to plug the title after 9 fucking books. Yeah, you know, when you judge everyone because they don't adhere to your bullshit narrative, when you say that the suffering that they went through as a young adult or even as a teenager does not matter to you because it doesn't gel with the ideas you have, that right there is genuinely insulting to someone else's emotions, into their life, into their problems. And then you sit there trying to portray these people like a bunch of crazy schizophrenics who are like banging on their cells in the psych ward, stabbing the orderlies and murdering the nurses and shit. No. You're trying to portray people like they're less than human. And because you can't do that without needing to vilify them, you don't know what to do. So you just lie and lie and lie and lie. And you do whatever the fuck you can to hurt them in some way. Because you believe that if you do that, you're winning the fucking argument. Even if it means you knowingly have to lie about almost everything they've ever done. And yet you're going to sit there and try to say that you being a piece of shit to them somehow justifies every horrible thing you've ever done to them because they respond with negativity. seeing the stuff you said about them. Chapter 2, The Ways of the Ignorant. Oh, it's ignorant, guys, isn't it? Writing about Gage or Damien is highly depressing in its own right, then don't do it. If it's really depressing, why do it? For one thing, they have done many evil things against humanity, which in turn has led to a lot of innocent victims in a short amount of time. Which is why you cannot name a single thing people have done that's actually been straight up malicious, that has not been brought in by the person doing it. Another reason is that while exposing Gage and his cult for their heartless monstrosities and human rights violations are giving communities the information and knowledge that they need in order to protect their families from Gage and his derogatory livelihood and anti-humanistic monstrosities, it is also personally and emotionally draining. Oh, I know, it must be so hard to hear people say mean words on the internet to the point where you're almost suicidal about it because you know you can't justify your argument with anything other than "no you." Damien is in no way nice or respectful to anyone outside of the GC2 cult. He makes a lot of people's lives hell, and naturally, investigative reporters like myself collect information from the victim's side. It's not really the victim's side if you yourself make yourself a victim just so you can say that you're the fucking source. Set of information is not pretty and is in many ways sickening to the stomach. Oh, I know, people call you ugly and retarded on the internet, so now you need to cry about it like you're being mutilated in front of people. It's lively, agree. The Night in Service series is a lot more complicated than even a conservative like Gage could understand. It's not complicated. People said your opinions are fucking stupid. They disagree with you and called you ugly because you went out of your way to fucking verbally attack them. And then you went out of your way to scream and and shit all over yourself and try to basically placate yourself as the victim of every situation you've knowingly taken part in. Seriously, you might as well just say, nothing I did that will get these people upset with me was my fault, even though I openly, knowingly did it. Because at least then you'll be a lot more transparent that way. You see, the first book was written with inaccuracies on purpose. Stetson Harwick is not a real person. It was a person created to entrap the GC2 cult into openly exposing their hatred so that humanity can see for themselves the true nature of this particular cult. It worked just as planned. Yeah, you know, despite the fact the person that identifies themselves as Stetson Harwick appeared on camera during that debate with Damien and Justin, to the point to where you can actually identify this person by the horrible facial deformity they call a skull. But remember, when this person is actually on film saying all the things they believe that openly sound insane, it is somehow an AI or a ghost program dedicated to being a fake person. No, it was written with inaccuracies because the dumb motherfucker that wrote it is crazy as shit and couldn't defend themselves, so they had to quickly change the story so that they could sound slightly more like a victim than they already did. Which wasn't any bit of victimhood at all, really, if you want me to be completely honest. Because Gage and his minions failed to fact-check any information that they put out to the public, they have, for over 2 long years, been promoting lies and non-existent information about a person that never existed. Which is why you cannot definitively prove this person does not exist, because if you look at your earlier books, you say Stetson Harwick, aka Enchaîné, which totally doesn't sound like you call yourself by your birth name, but then decided to default to your pseudonym because you realized that your birth name could actually connect you to people who could be used to contact you or track you down. Well, let's pretend we don't understand that. The first book was never about me. It was a ploy in order to grab the attention of the GC2, so whatever negativity or fake news that they can say can be properly documented. Translation. You got caught saying a bunch of crazy shit that wasn't true about people or yourself, and then you went out of your way to openly portray it like it was everyone else being stupid and falling for a trap when it was just you being caught in a series of fucking lies. And as planned, Gage and his minions fell right into our trap. It's not our trap. You were the only motherfucker writing this BS. It sounds like you're just trying to convince yourself that everyone else is a genius person. No, naturally, the non-service series are legitimate books that expose the disturbing ideology called conservatism and those who are brainwashed by it. However, it is also a direct connection between our side and their cult via the people, so that while these conservatives being exposed without direct confrontation, the people can gain knowledge and stay away from these bad people in order to keep themselves from being victims. Translation: you want no one to be allowed to disagree with your narrative, so you put it behind a paywall so that no one can challenge what you're saying about them. You want people to be placed in a situation where they have no ability to speak on their own behalf. You want to prevent other people from having a voice about what you're saying about them, but you also demand that people give you the right to speak on a platform. So which is it? Do you believe that both sides of the story should be heard, or do you believe that your side should be given the prevailing narrative so that you can control what people say about someone else in hopes of causing harm to people? The second book was a continuation of the first book and a continuation of the GC2 Crackdown. Yes, Crackdown, because I'm sure that false flagging people's content or DMCA guidelines is the same thing as a government actually taking your side. Fuck off. However, the second book also included new characters in the crazy events called Being a Victim of Conservative Depression. The third book verged off the trail and began a more intellectual outlook at Gage madness and the human distress that he is causing. If someone is being caused human distress by what I'm saying, then maybe, just maybe, they should not constantly throw themselves in front of me like a fucking idiot, pissing me off and then wondering, why are you being mean to me? Why are you being mean to me? I was just being an asshole to you. Between the last book and this book, there has been over 20 theses, 30 documents, and 15 news releases created to bring awareness to the hate group of the GCQ cult. This successful campaign ended on February 20th, 2020, as our side won against the GC2 oppression by getting rid of the majority of hate speech videos by reclaiming copyrighted material that was stolen from us by Gage rejected his minions. No, you dumb fucking asshole. You went out of your way to file DMCA guidelines trying to take someone else's content down because they read what you were saying for free and did not ask for a fucking penny, and because of the fact that people were taking your content and allowing people to access it for free and giving their opinion about what they were reading, you got anally chapped because you couldn't fleece people for money. You got mad about it because someone was stopping you from ripping other people off, and you instead decided that your little faggoty desire to get rich off of being an asshole was more important than another person's First Amendment and Second Amendment rights. Like, you straight up decided that the right to freedom of speech is only given to people who they feel like you've deserved it. That's what it is. You use the First Amendment to your advantage, but you will not allow other people to use it on an even platform where they can speak themselves. This book starts a new series of events post GC2 Crackdown. The GC2 still exists, but now we have full control over the situation and are monitoring every avenue that the GC2 uses. I order to make sure that people remain protected from the slanderous BS of Gage. Translation: I stalk your content to routinely make sure that if you bring up anyone at all I feel like defending, I'll flag all your videos for guideline strikes, hoping to get you shut down because you made me butthurt on the internet. But I'm not going to admit this is all a personal campaign. That's all it is. This is all just a fucking personal vendetta. And you're trying to control what other people say or don't say about you. And then you get mad because you can't control what other people say. You can't threaten people with lawsuits. You can't threaten people with harm because no one's fucking afraid of you. You're doing everything humanly possible to do harm to people, but no one's afraid of you. The most of the GT2 has died down. Damien hasn't made videos in a while, giving us all a break. Steven Trowbridge blocked our YouTube account, which is exactly what we wanted. What spelled WHT? We wanted because it would show Hall's admittance to guilt of his actions, aka he is running away from what he has done, meaning that he has admitted to bullying and harassing innocent people by running away. If he did nothing wrong, then why are you running? I don't know, maybe it's because he doesn't want his phone blowing up with notifications because some schizophrenic pedophile is constantly losing his shit every other day, spurging out about videos that have nothing to do with him because he needs to constantly jam his nose in other people's business. Let's be honest. If I had just made gameplay videos of Call of Duty or Killing Floor or Jurassic World Evolution, you'd still find a reason to bitch. You would. Because my videos would still be up too. Even if it was just me playing video games at that point, you would just be spurging the fuck out. Because I wouldn't be talking about you. And it would fucking eat away at your psyche knowing that those records of your bullshit exists and you can't remove them. Jennifer, Vanilla, a broken record, repeating you fart like a person after having a lobotomy. He, clearly, ran out of intelligent things to say. Not that he ever said anything intelligent to begin with. Oh, look, you're dead-naming someone, you fucking piece of shit. You're misgendering someone. You're misgendering someone. So tell me, why are you allowed to misgender someone that's trans, but when I do it to you, you call it a fucking hate crime? Why are you allowed to misgender people? You fucking transphobe. Let's see. Jennifer is what is known as a fake transgender, meaning that he pretends to be transgender in order to mock real transgenders and to poison the LGBTP+ community with hateful conservative bias from the inside. Naturally, he was called out and exposed like the rest of the GC too, just like Stephen Trowbridge pretends to be gay, when in reality he hates gays and the LGBTP+ community. No, it's just the fact is that when a trans person and a gay person openly disagree with you, your only justification for them disagreeing with you automatically means that they have to be, they have to be fake. They have to be fake. They disagree with me. They have to be fake because you're a fucking schizophrenic. That's the only way you can justify people disagreeing with you, is when you openly distort and twist and screech about stupid fucking bullshit. That's all you do. Your only justification for people disagreeing with you if they're in the LGBT is to automatically say that they're not what they are because they disagree with my narrative, because I'm a fucking schizoid. Kyle is a new character in this madness. Kyle misspelled because he's a dumb motherfucker. You don't put an I in front of the Y, you dumb son of a bitch. It's Gage's brother, and he is brainwashed as Gage is. He repeats the same heretic as the rest of GC too, and he is also rude, annoying, and heartless like the rest of them. Nobody knows how far brainwashing goes in their family, but seeing how they live in Michigan, it is no surprise that they are as mentally messed up as they are. I didn't realize the state you live in automatically had the state you live in is like. It just apparently controls every avenue of your life. I did not realize that. So does that mean that everyone that lives in California, for example, has to be a crazy left-wing nut job? Or is everyone just allowed to choose what they want to believe, regardless of where they live? Because you seem to have this dumbass idea that the state someone lives in automatically changes their entire life. You fucking retard. Let's see here. Cornelius Bagar, also a new addition to the mental fool fest, claims to be Asian. Yeah, he treats Asians like crap. He repeats the same racist stuff that Gage teaches, and he believes that all Asians look Chinese. Clearly, he's a fraud. No, it's just the fact is that, someone from Malaysia, someone who speaks fluent Malay, you're saying that a Malaysian is not Asian because he does not agree with you. Your whole concept of Asian just means that they have to look or act the way you do. Well, I'll tell you what, Stetson, I'm trans race. I identify as black. That means that if you say anything towards me, you're saying something against black people now. How does that sound? I will now pretend to be a different race, so that anything you say towards me is against the black community. How about that? Whenever you call me a mean name, I'll just say you're the one being racist against someone that identifies as black now. How about that? How about that? Does that work? Anthony Hunter is an old-school bigot. Some would say that Gage learned the art of cult running from Anthony. Whoever would say that's a fucking idiot. It's not a cult, first of all. Second of all, no one made anything up that anyone followed. They all just agree on the unilateral principle that it's not okay to be a fucking nonce. How many of these people have their time to waste running a pointless cult that promote lies and nonsense fantasies is beyond me or anyone with a life. You don't have a life. You spent the entirety of your existence being a dick to other people, demanding attention from them, and what doesn't work, throw a tantrum. But then again, it is clearly understandable, because look at the likes of Westboro Bat the chart. The multiple similarities between the Westboro and Gage. For one thing, both never gives a crap about anyone but their own. No, because I've actively stepped into several situations that were not really my business to put a stop to people being shitty to each other, but go ahead. Another similarity is that they both single out the minorities to bully and instigate trouble with. It's not really singling people out if they come up to you saying stupid shit and you actively disagree with them directly. Also, the fact that both Westboro and members of Gage both have too much time on their hands and not enough intelligence to use that time wisely. This coming from the same person who instead decided to, instead of actually wanting to write a book that wasn't about someone they disliked, they instead decided to write a series of butthurt, libelistic manifestos where they decided to convert everything they do into some pointless reason to bitch and whine. Both Westboro and Gage hate liberals in Hollywood. No, I dislike Hollywood because Hollywood blacklisted Brendan Fraser for the longest time because he came out about CSA. Well, not CSA, but he came out about SA that one of the people in charge of the award ceremonies had done to him. And when he confronted them about it, there was no active discussion or apology about it. It was basically just him being like quietly shadow banned from like a lot of directors and a lot of productions. So yeah, I don't like Hollywood because like one of my favorite actors basically got blacklisted because he brought attention to some criminal behavior people were doing. Mainly because Hollywood who exposed the conservatives and brings them to shame. Yes, because I know that a bunch of people who are in charge of like secret pedophile bullshit is the same thing as being someone who can actually mentally stump someone's arguments. Alright. Also, because people living/working in Hollywood are too intelligent to fall into the pit of conservatives and their lies. No, it's just the fact that people in Hollywood usually end up doing some pretty negative stuff that ends up getting them into a shitload of legal trouble. But the Gage and Westboro have no real concept of what love is. This coming from the dumb fuck who pretty much treats love like, well, you fucked, so now you're in love, even if it was just strictly a physical thing with no strings attached. You treat it like it's a relationship because you're like a retarded duck. They both think that love is an excuse to push people around and then say, we love you, when in fact, love would motivate a person not to bully people and push them around. Dude, I've never said that I loved you at all. I've never actually been genuinely helpful to you or kind to you in any way because I've openly displayed nothing but hostility for your shitty behavior. Not once have I ever given you any reason to suspect that I liked you in any way. You're the one that actually admitted to having some kind of fucked up yandere-esque crush on me, and when I told you to get fucked and stop fucking with me and bothering me in my life, you reacted like you just got turned down by the dude you've been chasing since senior fucking prom. You've been spurging the fuck out about people because they reject you sexually, and because of that you get mad and throw a fit, because you know you can't just make an argument about every shitty thing someone else does to you. So your only way to deal with it is to spurg out and throw a tantrum and try to portray them as a bigot, because you can't get over the fact that people don't have to reciprocate your feelings and fuck you at all. Just because you yell a lot does not make people respect you. I've never once tried to put forth the idea that me raising my voice would command respect. Me raising my voice and swearing at someone is just an exact explanation. It's more or less an exhibition of my rage and dislike of your behavior. Which is why I know only a handful of people would even put up with Gage nonsense. Where? Gage is in no way funny, so clearly nothing that Gage says can be taken as a joke. People don't have to find it funny. If some people find it funny, fair enough. You don't have to find it funny, but you not finding it funny does not render it unfunny. Even more so, why would you joke about other people suffering and depression, the very suffering and depression that they caused? Because I have a dark sense of humor, a lot of people make jokes about really messed up stuff. It does not mean that they're not funny. It just means that you personally don't like those kind of jokes. You're allowed to not like dark humor, but I am also allowed to make dark jokes, even if it's jokes that you personally dislike. I'm allowed to say mean shit to you, even if you personally don't like it, because it doesn't matter what you want to say. The First Amendment protects my right to freedom of speech. If you don't like it, go up to Congress and throw a tantrum. Gage never practices what he preaches anyway. Yeah, I do. Because I've never doxed people. I've never gone after my way to actually try to fuck with people's personal lives. I've never actually tried to bring people personal fucking harm. I've simply said I disagree with your shit behavior and I don't much care for it. Now, granted, I've said it in different ways over time, but that does not mean that what I'm saying is incorrect or invalid. He says he's against bullying, yet he does it all the time on YouTube. Then he tries to blame the internet for his stupidity. No, I don't blame the internet for my actions. I simply state the fact that if you're gonna be someone that doesn't like being insulted, then being on the internet, where you engage in internet culture, where people commonly throw insults around like people throw candy at a parade, then you're going to need to grow a thicker skin. Because otherwise, you're going to be on the brink of suicide every other week when people keep saying mean things to you. If every single thing you don't like happening to you on the internet is automatically going to be like a make or break decision when it comes down to how you live your life, then you shouldn't be on the internet exposing yourself to things that you feel are overwhelmingly negative to you. Because realistically, you're just going to be in a shitty environment all the time if you're constantly trying to pander to yourself when realistically no one's going to tolerate that. Kind of how Donald Trump blames China for all of America's problems instead of fixing the broken system in his own country. What does Donald Trump have to do with any of that, you fucking asshole? Sorry, that was my subconscious telling you to get fucked. What does Trump have to do with any of this though? Like, this is not Trump related. This is like people on the internet related. Gage is always jealous of me for my success. Yes, because when you have a book that practically no one likes on Amazon, it's the same thing as being a critically acclaimed author. Very well. He clearly feels this way because he goes off on a temper tantrum every time I publish a book successfully. No, it's just the fact is, you publish lies about someone hoping to do damage to their personal life or trying to fuck their life up in some way. That's not the same thing as being a best-selling author who wrote an autobiography that flew off the shelves. Here's the thing. If you had written a science fiction novel that was genuinely full of intrigue and adventure, I would not take issue with it. If it was a good book, it would be treated as a genuinely good book. But if you write bullshit about people, libeling them repeatedly, people are obviously going to be upset with that, especially when it's someone else who you're trying to cause harm to. Jealousy is an extension of hate, something that Gage has plenty of. It's totally not like I have a reason to dislike you and demonstrate like a lot of fucking vitriol towards you, considering the fact that everything you do is dedicated to being a lying little shit cunt. The definition of jealousy is, jealousy generally refers to thoughts or feelings of insecurity, fear, and concern over a relative lack of possessions or safety. Jealousy can consist of one or more emotions such as anger, resentment, inadequacy, helplessness, or disgust. Well, here's the thing, I do have a lot of disgust for how you've treated me and how you've talked about a member of my elite family. And how you've talked about Kay like she's an object, and how you've basically sat there fantasizing about this person being yours, instead of treating them like a fucking human being. Which you don't treat anyone like a human being, let's be honest. You treat them like an object, and when it's inconvenient to you, you treat it like it's an impediment to your life. But if you want it, you treat it like it's some sort of power-up. Like, if we were gonna use video game analogies, you treat people that you want like they're a double point. But when someone tells you to get fucked and stop treating them like an asshole and stop stalking them and shit, you treat them like the boss monster that's coming at you when you have, like, no health and no ammo. You treat it like it's a detriment to your safety at all times. I mean, think about that. That means that all of Gage overreacting madness is being caused by nothing more than Gage not feeling like a man. Here's the thing, I don't need to hate you to feel like a man. The fact that I have a dick is adequate enough. I can hold my own if someone comes at me physically. I can provide what I need to support myself financially. That's all I need to be a man. I don't need a bunch of bullshit bells and whistles to be a man. It feels more like you don't believe you're a woman, and you're trying to simply project that because you say, when he doesn't need a man, well, do you believe you're a woman? In other words, his lack of respect for himself has led him to sink into the mental complexity of jealousy and incompetence. Now, here's the thing. Incompetence would be like what you do, where you have repeated issues with your podcast. You can hear your phone going off. You can hear yourself struggling to almost not drop your devices. It's gotten so bad to the point where you don't even fucking speak in them anymore because you know you can't justify any of your arguments or statements. Which he is taking out on everyone else alongside his already existing delusional conservative mindset. Delusions plus delusions equals madness, and this is exactly where Gage is existing in his life right now. You really don't know anything at all about me. You know what you want to believe. Same goes for the rest of Gage cult members, angry at the world for problems that they brought on themselves, constantly projecting their fantasy into reality. No, here's the thing, you cannot project something that you believe, because projections don't work like that. Projection, if we're going to refer to the psychologically, to the psychology definition of projection, is that a projection is an indication or a sign that someone is behaving a certain way because of a certain thing. For example, when you commonly portray yourself as someone who is super successful all the time, regardless of how badly you failed, it is because deep down you fear failure, or you acknowledge that you're failing. So you project that you're succeeding in hopes of pissing people off that you don't like, so that they in turn will feel like you're succeeding, and they'll feel like giving up because they believe you've succeeded. And that's what it is. You're trying to project that you're this big, influential character that's making all this money, that's making all these changes in the world. But the reality is you're just crazy. And that's what projection actually is. I don't project that age exists. I don't project that consent exists. I don't project that pedophilia exists. I don't project that rape exists. These are not projections if you can physically observe these things in reality, being observed under legal codes and actually observed in real life actions or events. Projection only means that someone is demonstrating what they believe about themselves or what they believe about others or what they believe about the world using their actions as subtle cues to it without actually overtly admitting to it. But the fact is, you don't know what that means because your whole idea of projections is like a movie theater projector where someone is portraying something on a screen that is untrue and you are somehow equating that to someone actually knowing what the fuck they're talking about and demonstrating that they have the awareness to notice that you're entirely full of shit. Always living in denial and making stupid YouTube videos that reflects nothing but the hateful conservative agenda and their fake news narrative, attacking people who are absolutely right about Gage and his uneducated manifesto, yet still have not managed to realize that reality that he has failed to change the world, but has succeeded in making international enemies. Subscribing to Gage the Doom Guy YouTube channel is a bad idea and a waste of time. This coming from the same motherfucker who's turned every single statement they've ever made towards someone some butthurt manifesto where they shit all over themselves and throw themselves down the stairs every time someone disagrees with them, just to say that the person that disagreed with them threw them down the stairs. Chapter 3, a waste of time. Like your fucking existence. Gage is clearly a problem to humanity. What does that mean? That you're gonna try to have me killed or some shit? As the investigation proved, Gage the Doom Guy is a danger to himself and others. Translation, I'm mean to you, and because I'm mean to you, you're gonna scream and cry and demand that I go away, even though you're the one that won't leave me alone. However, the rest of the DC2 is to blame as well. Everything that they do is a joint effort, and that what they do is no joke. So when Gage starts claiming in a message to people in videos that I'm not deleting my videos because some faggots tell me to, shows his homophobic attitude against the LGBT plus community. No, I'm referring to the dumb motherfucker who's sitting there spurging the fuck out, demanding that I scrub my videos just so they can go on and pretend that they weren't being a piece of shit to people. Let's be honest. You didn't want the videos gone because they were untrue. You wanted the videos gone because you knew that if you erased your past on the internet, no one would know the shit you said and the stuff you did. Because I think deep down you acknowledge that a lot of the crazy shit you said could potentially compromise your ability to get a job or find housing. That's really what it was. You got mad because people were disagreeing with you on pedophilia. You realized you defending pedophilia would be a detriment to any potential future enterprise you might try to launch. So all you want to do is scrub it out of the goddamn record so that no one notices, except people don't let them do that. And because of that, you try to turn it into some homophobia or racism bullshit when the reality is, it's basically just you trying to control the narrative. You want other people to get rid of all the bullshit that people have said about you or heard about you because in your mind, if it's no longer on the internet, no one can find it. Which means you can get away with things just by screaming about people. That's all it is. You want the history of what you did to be gone so that people can't find out anything that you did. It also shows a complete disregard for internet etiquette and respect for others, both online and offline. Now here's the thing. If someone's a dick to me offline, I may be a bit more polite than online. Do you want to know why? It's because I don't feel like beating the shit out of someone in person. I don't feel like beating the shit out of someone because I realize it's not worth an assault charge. It's not worth bullshit legally. It's not worth ending up in jail or losing a job or picking up an assault charge. Me calling you a dumbass online is not the same thing as actually blasting you in the face with my fist or with a 10 gauge. It is the very reason why people are so turned off by YouTube. Yeah, it's not the apocalypse, it's not the 15 ads for a 10-minute video, it's not the multiple restrictions people face when they try to make an account that puts them to the point to where you can't say certain things without YouTube clamping down on you like a fucking pissed off crocodile. No, no, no. It's people like me. It's totally not YouTube proceeding to run people off the platform on a rail because they threaten its monetization. These conservatives are destroying the freedom of speech and expression that YouTube was built on in order to brainwash humanity into turning those who are different and unique. No, here's the thing. You're not unique. You're a dime a dozen. People like you, crazy motherfuckers, are a dime a dozen. Because all you do is live your life to tell people what they don't agree with is somehow true. And when you can't justify your own opinion, you just throw a fit and then demand they listen to you otherwise. That's not really what I would classify as someone that's actually being intelligent. When you've essentially built your entire online presence into being a whiny little shit that begs for attention. There are two groups of victims of the GC2 madness. Those who are brainwashed and those who are afraid of the GC2. And those who have those who they have brainwashed. Well, let's see. Those who are brainwashed, and those who are afraid, and those who they have brainwashed. Well, that's three different groups of people. That's not two. I wish you learned how to fucking count. Many people are actually afraid of the Joker, aka Gage, and what he can, quote, do to them. I can't do anything to them, because I'm not going to do anything to them. If someone decides to disagree with me or disassociate with me, that's entirely their concern. As long as they don't as long as they're not being a piece of shit to me or my friends afterwards, they can go wherever they so please. Just so long as they're not doing horrible shit to people afterwards. I could care less what they do. But in reality is, Gage is a wuss. Say that to my fucking face, I'd love to snap your neck. He manipulates people to do what he wants in order to get what he wants. That's what manipulative means. But he is nothing to be scared of. Then why do you constantly run away and try to silence any avenue people have for communication against you if you're so afraid? If you're really not afraid, then why do you constantly block anyone that disagrees with you? It sounds like you are afraid. If anything, we have more fear from global warming than we do from Gage. Well, of course, because realistically the worst I'm going to do is call you a piece of shit and move on. Whereas all you do is sit there and scream and cry. Whereas global warming will eventually cause a problem on the planet. Gage logic is wrapped in lies and old school fallacies, while global warming is 100% sound facts. 100 is actually typed as the number because it must be so difficult to type the word 100. The first, however, is a little more complicated to explain. You see, brainwashing, also known as mind control, incitement, coercive persuasion, and thought control, thought reform, re-education, is a concept that human mind can be altered and controlled by certain psychological techniques. Brainwashing is said to reduce its subject's ability to think critically. Why is think in blue underlined? Critically or independently. Or allow the introduction of new unwarranted thoughts and ideas into their minds, as well as to change their attitudes, values, and beliefs. Brainwashing can come in multiple forms, which include statements like this from our conservative of the hour, Gage. He says, now, even if I were to remove all the insane things this person has done from the equation, I still have plenty of things to say in this review. To put it bluntly, Non-Service is a series dedicated to preserving the ramblings of a madman who treats all who have a difference in opinion as though they're the worst things since the Ghostbusters reboot. The person in charge of writing this crime against the written word should be lashed to a cross and flagellated just for writing something so boring and nonsensical. The level of delusion the quote author demonstrates is something that surprised me in the worst way possible. Instead of simply being the manifesto of a whiny crybaby SJW, it became a series of slanderous remarks and baseless accusations against those who have asked him to provide evidence for his claims, or simply scrutinized his quote truth. Due to how false it actually is, instead of trying to consider the possibility he could ever be wrong with his mindless delusion, he goes off on easily triggered verbal rampages, labeling everyone as a bigot. He often resorts to slander, and he's willing to harass the sick relatives of those who have disagreed with him. Instead of confronting the opposition with facts, he decides to greatly alter the context of the situation for the sole purpose of mudslinging. If he wants to respectfully disagree or criticize, more power to him. But he seems to not understand that the difference between criticism and blatant harassment. If he really cared so much about free speech, he wouldn't constantly refer to criticism as harassment. He instead decides to whine and cry about it rather than deal with it like an adult. He goes from one quote point to another, desperately trying to brand all who oppose him as conservative, since he's such a buffoon that he labels everyone who is a Christian as homophobes, despite the fact that very few people who practice Christianity actually hold such views. He even labeled myself as a Christian, despite the fact I'm an atheist, and I don't have any of those beliefs. He seems to be under the delusion that he's some type of god, and his opinion is somehow an irrefutable fact. Quote, he accused the trans woman of not being transgender because she disagreed with him and his political views. The minimalistic view he holds on towards relationships is creepy and unsettling, and in conclusion, the sad attempt at a book is somehow worse than the first. I love how you basically just took my review of the Non-Service book, copied and pasted it on here. I actually like that maybe for the second time in your entire existence you've actually quoted me verbatim without needing to twist words. Again, I feel like I should give you a gold star for actually saying what I said without needing to twist it for 5 minutes. This statement is quoted from the comment on Amazon regarding one of the Non-Service books. Not in series books, because apparently you can't spell. What doesn't make any logical sense is that nothing in this comment have anything to do with me. Well, actually, I'm referring directly to the author's behavior and how they're talking about other people without even properly, accurately being able to guess the person's beliefs or behavior. Because they'd rather throw a tantrum and scream at people over nothing. Nothing at all that was said here remotely true or accurate because of this conservative YouTuber Gage, aka Gage the Damn Guy, has no understanding of reality and how our society functions. I didn't realize that criticizing a book where the author spent the whole time bitching and whining about people disagreeing with them somehow had anything at all to do with how society functions. Like, this is new to me. Apparently, if I criticize the author for being a whiny asshole, it's the same thing as me talking about fucking apparently, like, the housing market or something like that. Like, comparing apples to oranges here. The very fact that he mocks the written word and those who write it is evidence of his closed-minded mindset. Why then should anyone take Gage seriously? Because the review actually had everything to do with the contents of the book. I more or less accurately demonstrated the fact the author in question just went on whiny little bitchy tantrums, essentially screaming because people didn't hear things their way. If anything, this is living proof that conservatives mock the truth and reality as a whole. Oh, you crybaby. They can't stand to be wrong, so they will do anything to be right, as long as Gage has done here. I didn't do anything to be right. I just objectively stated my opinion upon what I read and what I thought about it. That's not the same thing as me trying to be right, if I'm remaining completely objective. His accusation against the left is nothing more than a joke. It wasn't the left. I was just addressing the person in question who was crying and making an asshole of himself in the book. It is him in his time of madness and delusion who has somehow trying to alleviate the Christian community from the mayhem and monstrosities they have inflicted on humanity for 1,000 of years. Christians are homophobic, and that is a well-known fact. Some Christians are, most certainly. I will most certainly say that there are some Christians that are homophobic, but I'm not going to go out of my way to say all are, because that's a big blanket statement that's entirely inaccurate. Even Christians themselves are proud of it when they promote the very scripture, Leviticus, which states that man shall not lie with man as with woman. It is an abomination, so clearly Gage has no knowledge of what is really going on in the world. No, it's just the fact that I don't live my entire life believing shit that was said over a millennia ago by people who have since just kind of said we don't give a shit about that anymore, because that's not what society would benefit from if we just... Because realistically, religions expand because they allow more people into the church. And because of that, a lot more people are more accepting and tolerant of gay people than they were 50 years ago. But we're just going to play dumb to that particular hunk of truth. His conservative friends act like they are transgender, not because they are, but because they mock us and want to have fake backup for their unpopular agenda to make themselves look big when they are, in fact, they are small and obsolete. This is what conservatives waste their lives doing. Yes, because I'm sure someone just lives their whole life questioning their gender identity, being miserable with who they are because they're not sure yet. And I'm sure someone just goes through all that just to make you look bad, because that makes total sense. That they would gladly risk their own safety and well-being just for that. That doesn't work. The Non-Service series is a great series that I highly recommend that anyone with a brain should read. Can you do me a favor and not recommend your own fucking bullshit in your own book? It's basically like you wearing the t-shirt to your own band at the concert, just so you can sit there and self-promote. Seriously, stop sucking your own dick. Naturally, Gage would say bad things about the book because he is jealous and can't handle the fact that I am taking away his fan base and that more people are paying attention to me than him. You realize that all the people that subscribe to me on YouTube genuinely think that you're a shitty fucking person that they all unilaterally dislike, if not hate, because they find out all the horrible, fucked up shit you've said and done to people just because they called you an asshole on the internet. Of course, nobody wants to be a victim of Gage's harassment. He never criticized anyone. He just bullies people and calls it criticism. Well, what do you want me to say? Want me to talk to you like this is children's television? It's like, is this person being a big meanie head? Adults don't exist and never existed. Well, of course not, because you're a giant fucking man, baby. It is a fact that there is just made up, like cooked up by conservatives in order to control humanity, and those who they want to brainwash. Age is an attack on the left and free will. No, it's not. Because there are plenty of people that are left-leaning that also believe age is a concept that they follow through with and believe in. You might as well just go up to anyone that believes in age and just say that they're a Nazi, because at least then it makes more sense than anything you've said so far. Granted, it would still be incorrect, but at least you could argue that there's some sense to be made there, instead of all the other bullshit you've been saying to the very beginning of this shit. In the end, Gage is a bigot, a sexist, and anti-free speech and expression. You could have just, again, I'm not a bigot just because I don't agree with your retarded nonsense. It's not sexist because I genuinely don't think that a person's gender makes them makes them greater or lesser than another person. This is the truth that cannot be denied. The fact that Gage is proud of his disadvantages and mental flaws shows how he clearly does not care about himself or his well-being. This is the guy who thinks of legal documents are fantasy, that countries are fake and make-believe, and that anyone but him are retarded. Sadly for him, that's not how life work. Not how life work. Okay. I didn't realize that apparently we didn't understand how sentences are structured. And again, if I'm so wrong, then prove me wrong with something other than your own personal beliefs. Chapter 4, How Life Work. Life work. Thank you. Thank you so much for not knowing how words work. The way that life works is quite simple. Life is based on knowledge and reality. Reality is not something that can be manipulated as Gage thinks, nor is reality based on a conservative ideology. The definition of reality is the sum of aggregate of all that really existed within the system, as opposed to which is only imaginary. The definition of imaginary is something existing only in the imagination. So humanity is part of reality, but age is part of fantasy and is imaginary. Fantasy is described as which is in one's imagination. So Gage's logic is that of fantasy and easily disputable. The imagination of Gage is extensive and dark. No, it's just the fact is you personally believe that if you think it's fake, then it's fake. And then you say that it's fake because you don't believe in it. Like, that's your whole argument, is like, I say it's fake, so it's fake. The image taking power in the mind, an act of reality, creating and reproducing an object not previously perceived, is the ability to create such images. This is Gage ideology to a T. The whole belief that SJWs are bad people because they change things does not work in reality. I don't think the SJWs are inherently bad, but I think a lot of the things that they do in terms of trying to force people to conform to a belief is actually just as dangerous as crazy right-wing fanatics. The only difference is instead of being religious fanatics like a lot of crazy people in the right wing, it becomes a bunch of people who are incredibly insane because they want to change the world into the way that they decide is right. In reality, no one wins if either side has the upper hand. Even if someone is a socialist doses where it does not mean that they are wrong. Just like because Gage is a conservative doesn't make him right. Well, here's the thing though. You automatically portray yourself as correct regardless of evidence to the contrary, so it doesn't matter what anyone says anyway. What makes a person right is their ability to connect what they believe with what is real in everyday life, which you never do. Gage beliefs exist exist within the fantasy world. He believes that what he makes up, but not what is evident around him. His lives are his reality, and he has no clue about the world around him. No, it's just that you believe that everything is a stereotype, and you portray everything as a stereotype, so that means that anything outside of that little boundary that you've built for yourself, you decide is non-existent. You portray anything you dislike as false, because it's easier to do that than it is to take any bit of accountability for the shitty things you've done. A perfect example is his views on Stetson Harwick. I personally feel that the way that he treats this individual is derogatory against humanity. Translation: you don't like the fact that you yourself are criticized and admonished by someone, so you try to distance yourself from this from this identity, even though you've earlier admitted that it was you. Brilliant idea, dumbass. He hurts people for sport, all the while creating fanciful storylines around those who he victimized, almost like WWE concept for each wrestler has a storyline behind his or her existence as a wrestler. Like WWE, the storyline is fabricated. Unlike WWE, however, Gage's storyline is 100% inaccurate and false, which is also known as fake news. Definition of fake news: anything that, basically news that's, I'm not going to go over the definition of fake news, because we already know the definition of fake news is a bullshit, nonsense thing that you use whenever you're confronted with reality and you don't like it. So, the news Gage pushes on about Stetson Harwick because any of his victims is indeed fake news. No, you just believe that if you can just call it fake news, it's basically your way of handling anything at all that's misdirected towards you because you spurg out if it's not. For one thing, Stetson Harwick mother never kicked her out. Can you explain to me, at first you say this person did not exist, and now you're coming to their defense. So which is it? Do they not fucking exist, or do they exist and it's someone else? Pick a fucking continuity, dumbass! Unlike Gage's delusional mindset, the truth is the complete opposite of his beliefs. Age never existed and pedophilia never existed, which means that it is impossible for Stetson or anyone to be a, quote, pedo apologist because there is nothing to be apologist for, because what Gage is claiming to exist does not. Translation: if I argue myself in circles like a babbling retard, I'll somehow prove that I'm smarter than everyone when I'm just actively showing that I cannot make an argument to accurately refute what people say. Seriously, the circle argument thing does not make any sense or work when everything you do is just designed to intentionally antagonize people like an asshole. Therefore, Gage is a liar, and Stetson is not what Gage says that she was. In fact, Gage is a bully apologist who subscribes to YouTube channels of those who abuse and defraud innocent people. It's not really a defraud if people choose to watch their content because they have the ability to just say, I don't want to watch this, or I would like to watch this. Another thing is that Gage stalks other people, YouTube channels, reports videos based on fake privacy claims, twists the words of those who he don't like, and slanders them in his YouTube videos. Learn to fucking phrase a sentence, you illiterate dumbass. Of those he don't like. No, here's the thing. When someone openly goes around spreading someone's address around or personal information that can be used to threaten their privacy and safety, it's not a false privacy violation. Another thing, it's not a fake privacy claim. Why is it that you can file fake claims against people to try to get them shut down by lying about their content, but someone's not legally they're not allowed to copyright claim or report videos where you straight up leak pictures of their Facebook profile and pictures of their relatives with hopes of getting them fucking assaulted? Stetson never once lost a debate against Gage. He did a multitude of times because the dude's only argument was essentially, it doesn't exist because I say it doesn't, and if you say I'm wrong, you're wrong, and I win. However, not one debate has made him any smarter. Stetson never once contacted Jenner's family, and not one time has Stetson ever bullied anyone for any reason whatsoever. Yeah, you know, when you go up to someone whose family member died and you start calling them bigots and shit because you need to try to vilify them to their family, I'm sure that has no reason at all as to why people would call you a bully or say that you're a lying asshole. Stetson is a peaceful and beautiful soul. Oh, stop sucking your cock. A open-minded Democrat who constantly gets victimized by the conservative right for standing up for the LGBTP plus and Asian rights, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Keep Dr. King out of your dirty bitch mouth. Keep Dr. King out of your fucking mouth. Or Mahatma Gandhi. Stetson is bullied by Gage for being correct. You've yet to be right about anything. For educating humanity on a better way of living. Stetson never did anything in the girls' bathroom that Gage claimed she did. Why did she have to sneak into the girls' bathroom when she is a girl and can just walk on in? Also, transgender people have the right to use the bathroom which matches their gender identity, so clearly Gage is misinformed on transgender rights in reality. Also, that makes him a never-ending liar. He is giving the state a bad name. Stetson was never homeless, as the lying Gage claims. In that way. Why is that a bad thing if an individual is homeless? No one's saying that being homeless was a bad thing. People say that you going out of your way to lose your mind and scream about your homelessness and then blame it on other people is what people are saying. That's what people are getting the point across. Is the fact that you claim to have your life in order, but you were living in a shelter. Clearly, Gage has a huge hatred for homeless people, and his stigmatizing ideology has led him to understanding of humanity as a form of the rich is better than the poor. Homeless people are equally valid human beings as everyone else, so Gage's outdated bigotry is clearly evidence of his stupidity. No, I just theorized they were homeless because you straight up cited a homeless shelter as a former place of residence. That's why people got the idea they were homeless, because you were actually using a homeless shelter as a former place of residency. Because when you were talking of hope for homes, for example, you were speaking of living in a homeless shelter. That is not me saying that you were inferior for that living situation. That was me simply stating the fact that you have no right to tell anyone how to live their life when you haven't even figured yourself out yet. But go on, keep twisting everything I say. That's the only thing you can do with any degree of actual work. Stenton is an intelligent person who deserves the utmost respect, just like any other person in society. No, you don't deserve respect, because you're genuinely a shit person that gets off on being a shit to people and then demands sympathy and respect when everything that you've done is just be a dick and then cry about people not liking your behavior. Same goes for Andrew, Amos Yee, Desmond is amazing, etc. Humanity is too intelligent to waste their lives hating people for petty things like a person's sexuality or personal life choices. Then why do you hate people for those exact reasons? We should be utilizing our brains for actual problems like global warming or advancing AI. Not worrying about who a person has sex with shows how much Gage knows. Translation: No, you! No, you! Chapter 5, age never existed, so crack on. What does crack on mean? Like abuse crack? Did you meant to say rock on, but you couldn't spell? As everyone knows, age never existed. If everyone knows it, then why are you the only person that's ever echoing that sentiment and you live in an echo chamber entirely occupied by yourself or your 5 billion other personalities where you're all schizophrenically rambling into the void? It is a myth that is dedicated to conservative fools who live within this fantasy. The term conservative means conservative is someone who looks at old school principles and treats them as though they are modern. Is the who opposes the traditional institution of their country. It's like what Gage believes, and he believes in a heterosexual state where all other sexualities are oppressed and forced into an intellectual closet. No, I just don't believe it's okay for people to fuck children. That's not the same thing as attacking the gay or bisexual or lesbian people or trans people. Fuck off and die. Gage wants heterosexuality for the world type of system. He hates gay people and the rest of the LGBTP plus community, calls them faggots and snowflakes, hates drag queens and transgender people, and undermines the true potential of humanity's intelligence. Learn what a possessive noun is, dumbass. It makes no sense why anyone in the 21st century would waste precious time and electricity to make hateful and intolerant videos about people who are doing nothing more than living their lives in peace. It's not really living your life in peace if you dedicate hours of your fucking time to type bullshit up about people trying to damage their life in some way. Fuck off and die. We all know the term fit is a racist slur against Asian people. Actually, the only people that's ever been attached to is Israelis, and Israelis are not Asian. They are actually, the majority of them are European immigrants. Yet Gage makes excuse to continue to use the phrase because he is racist. Nobody who is not racist would need a reason to use any form of racial slurs. Is that why you came at me about my own ethnicity and basically attacked me about my skin color, you fucking bigot? So Gage, like always, is caught in a lie. He's a racist, he's an abuser, he's a bully, and he's a danger to society. Sadly, he still hasn't realized yet. No, it's just the fact is I refuse to be told what I am by some asshole who decided to spend the majority of their life going from shelter to shelter begging for people to acknowledge them in a good way. When the only people that acknowledge you are the people that mock you and call you a fucking crazy person. I mean, that's the thing. The majority of people who acknowledge you only acknowledge you when they call you nuts, and then they move along with their lives because they refuse to let you have a fucking foothold in their day-to-day routine. Because you being involved in their life would only generate more negative bullshit that they would care not to have in their life, and they have every right to tell you to get fucked and stop bothering them. Because that's all you'd do if you get that's all you would do if you were given the chance. Fucking crazy bastard. Let's see. Sadly, still hasn't realized yet. The GC2 is a massive hate propaganda machine which runs on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, etc., and which stalks people's social media accounts and emails in order to continue their conservative campaign. It is unfair that they find the people suffering amusing and are so surprised when there are backlash against their ridiculous onslaught. It makes one wonder, though, if the non-service series would exist without Gage mental problems. The point of this series was to expose the ignorance of Gage and his cult. However, it became a way to better connect with the people, to express oneself free from the censorship of the GC2 conservative anarchy. Well, here's the thing, if it's anarchy, it wouldn't be conservative, because anarchy is the complete lack of order, whereas conservatism would be the traditional upholding of some sort of order. You see how that doesn't make fucking sense when you treat it the way that you do. Oh, Jesus Christ, I lost my place. Because this thing's a wall of fucking text. It was one of the only outlets that Gage didn't seem to control. Because Gage uneducated rants and fascist views, I have become a popular writer. You're not popular. People ridicule you and call you an idiot. That's not the same thing as people loving you. Sadly, though, my popularity came from Gage being desperate need for attention, so it's not necessarily a celebration, but more like a wake-up call that mental health is an important issue, and that people like Gage should not be deterred to get help that he and his followers need. Translation. You calling me a fucking asshole on the internet is the same thing as being a schizophrenic or a legitimate person suffering from psychosis. I'm not a psychologist or a psych major or a doctor, but I'm going to tell you I believe you're dangerous because you make me scared when you raise your voice. You might as well just say that. You might as well just say, people frighten me when they raise their voice. I'm always on the verge of pissing myself because this person looks at me funny. And I'd rather be afraid for my life every day because I'm afraid of nonsense than genuinely do anything at all that would involve living a life that's actually filled with joy and merriment if I can just constantly surround myself with negativity that I openly create. I mean, that's the thing. You create your own negativity and then you bitch when the negativity you created ends up being a huge detriment to you later down the road. I don't understand your line of reasoning because it's a line of reasoning that's entirely flawed. I enjoy writing and doing investigative reporting. I enjoy being a researcher and challenging the status quo to expand their understanding of the real. It's not really challenging the status quo, because you're not challenging it in a way that makes sense. You're challenging the status quo in the sense that you spit in the face of reality so you can sit there and say that you're smarter than everyone that's already established the rules. You're not even really a researcher or a reporter, because a lot of the shit that you do is basically, you get yourself in a shitstorm, then you scream and cry and stamp on the ground and demand people treat you like a victim when you've done everything humanly possible to be an asshole to people. In this day and age, you said age, you acknowledge it exists, humanity's intelligence have advanced to new and amazing levels, from artificial intelligence to living on Mars and beyond. We have moved to a new level of consciousness. Yes, because I'm sure that you experimenting with LSD is the same thing as you entering a new state of awareness where you're somehow part of the universe in some sort of crazy, eldritch kind of mind. Seriously, do you abuse drugs? Because that would explain the whole hive mind mentality. If you're fucking tripping balls on shrooms or LSD, it would make sense if you actually believed in a hive mind that way, because only the drug use would allow that to make sense. For the GC2 cult, it is backward. They deny the present and choose the ideology of the past. They refuse to move on from outdated thought. They have shut themselves off from the future, and their present is grim. The past has failed us intellectually, yet it benefits the conservative perfectly, which is why they choose the Old Testament over the New. Which is why no one that's ever disagreed with you has really been any type of religious person except for Justin, and even Justin has openly condemned homophobia. Their understanding of gender identity are non-existent, and they are not open enough to learn. No, it's just the fact that I don't believe you yourself are trans, because you seem to only use that as a way to defend yourself from admonishment, because you believe that if you scream, "I'm trans, you can't say that about me," is the same thing as it actually being justifiably used as an argument, because your only way to deal with people disagreeing with you is to just scream, "No, I'm trans, you can't say that about me." And when someone tells you to shut the fuck up about that, you throw yourself on the ground, you scream and throw a fit, and then demand that they ignore you after you went around slapping everyone, metaphorically speaking. They repeat the failed logic of their ancestors, yet they refuse to reconcile the truth from intellectuals that exist in the present and the future. The future has not yet come. You cannot speak on behalf of the future because the future has yet to be determined. The present is what everyone's listening to at this very moment. Your whole argument is that if people don't listen to you, then they're a bunch of ignorant cave people living in fucking living under rocks, only going with what people have told them. No. People go with what they can reconcile when they look at data and research, and you're trying to portray it as everyone just being an ignorant goon. Again, age never existed. It is a measurement of nothing. It has no meaning, and it is not an excuse to discriminate or generalize humanity. Proceeds to not name a single example as to why it does not exist, because he knows he can't argue it at all. It is not a means to slander people and create misconceptions about them. It is not a means to oppress people and divide humanity into a fraction-based society. It's not a fraction-based society. It's that people are more or less giving a proper estimate to what they believe a person might be responsible with when it comes down to the level of psychological and physical maturity. If you want to live in some shithole where everyone fucks animals and children, go live somewhere out in the desert somewhere where you'll die alone in 5 minutes. Democracy is based on individual freedoms, not generalized hypocrisy. It's not generalized hypocrisy. People are going with what's most likely going to be safe for everyone. So therefore, age never existed because it is a contradiction of free will. No, age is not a contradiction of free will, because you'll gradually age regardless of what you want, because your body and mind will psychologically and physically mature regardless of what you want. Numbers don't control us. We control our own lives. This is not the Matrix, but naturally, conservatives' minds are locked and stuck in their ways. Gage makes every excuse to be stupid, but never makes the effort to act smart. I mean, like how you ramble in circles like a dumbass and somehow act like being a pseudo-intellectual is an actual display of intellect? Let alone get some new sense of fashion. He has admitted that he is lazy, but it seems like he mitigates his time meddling in other people's affairs instead of taking care of himself. You mean like how you go out of your way to talk about other people's lives and relationships that you have no business to talk about because you genuinely don't know any of these people outside of the internet, and then you go out of your way to talk about them like you do? Potato, potato, fuckface. Gage hates sex and love. Dude, you don't have love or sex because you think that if someone fucks someone, it's automatically love. You're so incredibly fucking stupid, your brain only revolves around fucking things because you're a man whore that would fuck a potato if he had the chance. He hates people who are in relationships. I don't mind if people are in relationships just so long as it's legal and no one's doing anything fucking screwed up. Why is he this way? Can only be explained with saying the word brainwashed. No, I just don't like pedophiles. Nobody in their right mind would hate another human being. You hate other people all the time, except you don't have the balls to say it. Hate violence is never okay. Okay, misspelled. And Gage loves pushing hate on his videos. Gage claims that, quote, he is telling jokes, but he is really telling lies. Jokes are funny, not hateful. Ridicule is peaceful, not hateful. Making observations is intellectual, not hateful. So Gage actions can never be justified by calling a joke an observation, or any other distracting label from the truth. The truth is, Gage is happy when you suffer, and he has no remorse for his actions. You might as well just make the argument that if anyone disagrees with you at all, it's the same thing as someone just being a mindless zombie who hates everything that's ever lived. Damien is the same as Gage. The only difference is that Damien is a lot louder. Damien pushes hate just as Gage does. If anything, Damien is Gage lackey, who basically copycats Gage videos and extends even more hate on whoever their victim is. Damien is quite one-sided and prefers favoring conservative ideology in the GC2 cult circle. Yes, because when you act like a cocksucker to him in a debate and you piss him off by constantly being a dickhead to everyone, I'm sure it has nothing at all to do with that, right? You dumbass. It is interesting that every member of the GC2 has no sense of style whatsoever. Oh, shut the fuck up. You're the one stealing cocktail dusters from dumpsters and shit, thinking that you look good when you're 5 sizes too small for them because your beer belly and man tits are sticking halfway out of them. Yet they have all the time in the world to make propaganda recruitment videos, pushing their hateful agenda out on the world. Shows their true priorities, not where their true priorities lies. You mean lie, where their priorities may lie. Damien has a guy complex where he thinks he is better than everyone, and he can never be wrong nor corrected. Stephen Trowbridge is the same way. How Gage found this people, I have no idea. But I am glad I'm open-minded and free from their madness. Yes, because I know they're repeating the same retarded thing every 5 days. This is the same thing as automatically being some intellectual who can galaxy brain everything by proving everyone to be a nut, when he's the craziest motherfucker in the room. At the same time, I question their true motives. It does not make sense why somehow human beings will just hate people because you tell them to. Gage thinks that just because he makes a few YouTube videos, that this will somehow make everyone bow down to him. I don't want to make anyone bow down to me at all. I just don't like your shit behavior. And then you scream and cry about it like an asshole because you can't just wriggle away from it now that people know what kind of person you are. That's all it really is. You're trying to preserve the narrative that you're a victim, but you can't because people catch you doing horrible shit. Well, guess what? That's not the case at all. I never thought that it was. Gage videos are just him rambling about his hate for individuals who were strong enough to stand up against him. His 200 subscriber count is clearly fake. People are not going to subscribe to a low-life racist bully who wishes transgender people would jump in front of a bus. His second channel streaming Goom Guy is full of fake debates, where all he does is target liberals on the left, gang up on them with the help of his cult, and then accuse them of fake accusations without evidence. It's not even a debate, it's a hangout of conservative and internet trolls. I know, it must be so hard to be a giant man baby who lives his entire life wiping his diaper and demanding everyone treat him like he's 2 years old. Seriously, that's the way you live your life. You act like every fucking thing in your life is you being a victim, when the reality is it's just you being a whiny douche, and then you throw a tantrum because you can't victimize others the way that you want to victimize them. And then it basically goes to a picture of myself and Kate from my Facebook profile and a picture of Damien from one of Damien's old Facebook profile. So yeah, this whole thing was a bunch of libelistic BS. I hope you get murdered in your sleep. Go to hell.